which is always good. Welcome to another Setting with Christian live. I told you if you tuned in yesterday, I did say we had something really bananas for today, and with that we do. So I'm going to get right into it. Today we have an 8-carat oval here in our Bethany setting. So we'll have a look. You can see how big, that's my big finger in comparison to this very big setting, which is awesome. So there's a two-tone, yellow gold shank and a platinum band. Platinum setting, which is really nice. Going to sit really nice with that stone. Those white claws are going to be really good. Give that shine as well. So let's have a look at the stone. It is an EVVS2. So we'll just have a gaze at it here. It's pretty exciting. Oof. That's big. That is very big and very sparkly, which is nice. Really nice cut. It's going to look even better once it gets in the stones. Nice elongated ratio as well, so it's not too wide, so you really get that length. So let's put that away for a second and we'll get our setting back into our frame, and we're going to get the whole show on the road. If you guys have any questions, thoughts, queries, anything you might want to mention, please chuck them in the comments. If you guys tuned in yesterday, we had a heap of really good questions and different jewellery related thoughts that people were spitting out. So we're able to really give a heap of information to that. So hopefully we can keep that going today. But again, anything you might have on your mind, please put it in the comments. So even though the stone is a very big 8 carats, we're going to start everything like normal. I'm just going to open up this setting and just see how the stone sits in the setting itself, because it is very big, but we're going to need to work out where we're going to have to cut, especially cut our claws, because it's very important that we have that right, because on such a big stone it becomes really obvious that if they're not even or symmetrical or anything like that. So like it just feels so big to hold. Alright, let's have a look. So it's sitting reasonably well from the get-go. We do have a bit of wobble, so I am going to cut a little bit out of it as well, out of the inside of the bezel, which is good. It's really well timed. This is giving Cristiano Ronaldo and Georgina Rodriguez vibes, which is pretty cool. That's not anywhere near as big. I think that came out to around 33 carats, I think, in the end. So, which is pretty nuts. Like, this one is massive in itself, but yeah, for it to be 33 carats as opposed to 8 is just a little bit wild. This is probably the biggest solitaire ring I've seen, and probably the biggest one I've set, I think. So yeah, that's really exciting. Before that, I think it was a 6.5 carat something. So that's super cool. But yeah, it's a big jump from 6.5 or 8 to 33. That's for sure. All right, I've got myself tangled here. So I'm just going to cut out this little inside section. All those under facets on our pavilion. And what this will do is all these marks on the sides here tells us where the diamond is touching. So that's the points that are in the way of the diamond dropping any lower. So we want to get rid of those areas so that we can get our diamond to sit evenly in the setting. There's no point cutting over here where the diamond isn't touching, because we're just going to create gaps, and we don't want gaps, but we want as much structural integrity to our setting as possible. Alrighty. They're sitting really, really nicely. I like the height. It's really proportionate to the setting as well, which is fantastic. So let's bring these claws in a little bit, and I'm just going to start to cut our seat. Alright, here we go. Alright, so we can see we've marked the claws here where the stone is touching. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut that out and create that seat. And then we're going to really see how nice and tight we can get this stone into the setting. Alrighty, so we've done 3 of our claws. We're just going to adjust. I'm just going to change my bird to get that 4th one. This one is a little bit big, so I'm just going to change over to something a little bit smaller at the moment. And what I'll do is, stuck. What I'll do is just use a little bit of this. This is a little bit of lubricant for the bird. So what that'll do is it helps the helps those little teeth, which you can see just on the edge of that ball bird. It just helps it dig in a little bit better and help protect the sharpness of that as well, because we don't want to go blunt really quickly. If they go blunt, then you push really hard, and it's like using a knife. You want to allow the tool to do the work for you. You don't want to have to force it. If you force it, then you're more likely to slip, and then it's a lot more cleanup and a lot of extra work that you've made for yourself. Alright, what we'll do now is we'll drop that stone in again. Alright, it's not too bad. We can see that just want to drop a little smidgen lower. Now, if you guys have been to one or have watched one of these lives before, you'll see that I've used this grey stuff, looks like Blue Tack, called Thermolock. That's definitely going to get used today, especially when we've got such a big setting. Just to make sure that when I'm pushing over, we're not bending the shank, we're not bending the setting, or we're not bowing it either direction, because it is really long. So when we are pushing down, there's a chance that everything buckles underneath us. And once you do that, it's very difficult to try and straighten everything again. And we've got to then do all that cleanup work all over again. So we're just going to thermo lock underneath and give us some support to push those claws over. All right. You can see when I wobble the stone like this, that whole setting moves. So that's what I'm talking about when I say we're going to put some thermolock under there. We're going to put some of that before we push our claws over, because we do still have a lot of wiggle room, even though it's tightly clamped in our ball vise. As always, you guys know I like to clean up the inside of my settings, especially after I've cut some metal out. So I'll just go in with my red little show-through tool here. Nope, not this one. This one's finished. We get a different one. Alrighty, what I'll do as well is I'm just going to take the inside of those claws off, because I need some nice flat sections for where it's going to lay on top of our stone, and then I'll just bring them in a little bit closer as well. Alright, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Alrighty, so you can see that fits nice and snug in there, which is fantastic. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take out that metal on the inside of the claws that we need gone, just to open it up so you get nice little cave sections for our girdle to click into. What I will do, guys, while I am doing this, and if you guys have any questions and stuff like that, please flick it through. I'm just going to put I'm going to answer a couple of questions first, and then what I'll do is I'll put some background music on, so you guys don't have to listen to my brain churning over and thinking, as well as can listen to some nice music. I'll keep going, and then I'll get to the point where we're going to push the claws over, and then I'll come back and chat to you guys, but just to give you some ambiance music. I have a question here, sort of. And how do I become a ring maker? That's a really good question. So to become a jeweler, traditionally it's a 4-year apprenticeship. So my best advice would be, if you think it's something you might like to do, I would try my hand at some short courses. Depending on where in the world you are, there'll be different courses and certificates or those kind of things, qualifications you might be able to do. But if you can do like short ones, like a couple of months or something like that, just to get a taste. If you do like it, then my advice is to get your hands involved as much as possible, and try and find someone that is willing to teach you, or a business that was happy to take you on and have you around and get you involved that way and put you through an apprenticeship and all that kind of stuff. So that you can start to try and get some skill transfer and all of that. It does take a lot of time, and it's a lot of hard work and patience. But if that's the kind of job for you, it is really rewarding and it's fantastic. I think that is everything for the moment. It looks like butter. It sure does. It really does. It's this platinum moves really well, which is fantastic, and that diamond is just huge. Like, it is a little bit bonkers how big it is, to be honest. So yeah, it almost doesn't feel real to have that in my hand. So anyway, like I said, let's chuck some music on. I'll keep going, and I'll touch back with you guys really soon. Alrighty, okay, so you guys will be able to see that I've cut my claws, got my seats, I've then put my stone in, and it's sitting in place, and it's sitting really well, actually. I'm pretty happy with it, of how it's sitting at the moment. What I do know now is I've put Thermolock on, so I've just bent the claws just a little bit so it doesn't move too much, and then I've put Thermolock around that setting, like I said at the start, just to support it. So I want to push those claws really, really flat onto the stone, really firm, and then shape them. But in order to do that, I need support on those ends because they're just going to rock like a seesaw. And if we bend the setting or we bend the shank, especially with that cathedral shoulders, it's not going to be really good to try and go back and fix that. So I want to prevent any damage or anything like that from happening. So I've got the Thermolock in, and I'm just putting that in. I put that in just before, so just waiting for it to go really hard. It's firmed up now, but you can see it's a little bit soft in a few places. So I really need to let that cool for another 30 seconds or so, and then in the meantime, I'm just going to look at my angles of my stone. How is it sitting? You know, am I a little bit high on one side? Am I a little bit low? You know, what do I think I need? And just really get acquainted with the job and where it's at, so I know, you know, which direction I want to take it in. So we just check this Thermolock again. It's pretty hard, which is good. So I want to put this, the last claw I need to push the furthest down. And we're almost, I just want to make sure that we're level. It can be really, really tricky, especially with these big stones, to make sure they're super, pardon me, super even, super level. Because if they're not, they become really, really obvious. So just really looking at it from as many angles, looking at it outside of the microscope as well, looking at it on the eye, really trying to line up as much as I possibly can. Because it's more important. It's so critical with this kind of stone that we get it right. It's positioning, and I don't want to close the claws too much either. So let's get these claws down and I'll reassess. Because I can lift them back up, which is fine, but I don't want to be mucking around too much at all. Right, this looks really even, which is fantastic. Just want to look at my claw direction as well. Make sure they're coming up and pointing the right way. Because then I am going to hammer them down. And once I've hammered them down, I want to make the least amount of movement as possible after that. So I need it to be really locked in and secure. Alright, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hammer those claws over. I'm going to start to just hammer them down. Actually, in the meantime, I am just going to turn the mic off again because this noise is really loud and really annoying, especially when it hits the metal. So it is easiest if we turn the mic off for a little bit. I'm just going to turn it off, hammer, start filing the claws, and then I'll jump back in with you guys to finish cleaning them up, shape them, answer any last questions or anything else you guys want to know, especially about this 8 carat, and then yeah, we'll wrap up the video from there. Alrighty guys, so what you'll be able to see is I've hammered those claws down and I've filed them and used my graver there to give us some nice flat sides. So you can see I spent a lot of time making sure they're even, getting the length right, getting the shape, all that kind of stuff. Now that's just kind of the length and the direction is really important, but the shape is more like we're just blocking it out at the moment. So now I'm going to go in with some little silicone wheels. These are my little Shofu wheels. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sharpen my wheels, make it nice and sharp so that I can get nice crisp, really crisp finish on those sides when I clean them up. And I'm just going to start slowly working my way around these claws, taking out any little marks that has been left from either the file, my pliers, the engraver, anything we missed beforehand, like anything. Just really getting these claws super finely finished, so that when I polish them, they're Mickey Mouse ready to go, and all we need to do is touch up the polish on the rest of the bottom of the setting and the shank itself. In order to get this polish, or the claws really nice, I'm going to use a variety of different tools. Most are the same that I would always use, and depending on, if I come across something that I notice that I say, oh, that's a bit different, I will adjust the tool that I'm using. So I'm using this little Shofu wheel at the moment, but I already can see there's a few marks that I'm going to use my little emery spindle, so my sandpaper roll, to get rid of, because it's just a little bit more suited to getting a nice smooth finish without cutting deep lines. If I'm not careful with this wheel, I can put some deep lines into the claws that then I will need to go to the laser to try and even them up, which is really not ideal because we don't want to have to laser so late now in the game. It's really close to being finished, so we just want to touch it the least amount of times as possible. We don't want to overwork it. We don't want to create any issues for ourselves down the track. Alrighty, you can see those sides of those claws super fine and flat, which is great. We look down nice and crisp, which is awesome. I'm then just going to go in with my emery spindle, probably like a 2000, or start at a 2000C. I'm just going to clean up some of these marks on the sides and on the back. This emery is great because it's fine enough that it's not going to leave super deep marks when I go over stuff once or twice, but it's coarse enough that I'm going to take out these, start to really clean up those indents, stuff like that. But I know I'm going to have to come back around with one of those Shofu discs anyway to really give us a smooth finish. I spend a lot of time worrying about, and trying to get a really clean mirror finish on the claws. And I think I think it's especially important when we spend so long getting the stone straight and, making the design and the setting and the small diamonds, all of that kind of stuff. We don't want to rush this final stage of shaping our claws and cleaning them up. We've done all this hard work up until now. Why rush? So I'm just taking off those corners on those edges at the top. I want to keep the sides really flat underneath them, but I want to roll this top section so that, you know, when you look at it, it does look like a bit of a, you know, and it does look like an eagle tip claw as the name suggests. Alright, so that's what Wenat claws look like. They're really, that's it. They're right there. They're literally right there. Now it's really pivotal to get the finish. So that polished, super mirror, fine, incredible finish, that's where this comes in. So we start going over with really fine wheels and emery and really start to lighten everything up. We just take out all those marks from, that wheel was pretty coarse that we used, so I needed it to get the shape right, but I also need now to take off all those marks, get super fine, high quality finish, so that when I go to polish, we get that mirror looking back at us. And if your mirror if you don't look at your ring and you see that perfect mirror finish, then we have a problem. And it's definitely not going to pass at QC, so I'm going to end up doing it again. So we spend the time now while the piece is in our hand the first time. Super delicate. Alrighty. Now I'm just going to really sharpen up those sides. I'm going to use this really nice tight knife wheel here. And just get a super clean finish on the sides of these claws. Alrighty, just going to quickly, very quickly, just give it a light once over with this other wheel. Again, super fine. Almost going to look polished straight away. Just, you can see I'm just going really light, really quick over the top. So I don't want to take a lot of metal away, I just want to give it a nice bright look. And then I can go over it with our little Goats brush with some polishing compound, and we're going to get that beautiful mirror looking back at us. Okay. Get a little bit of compound and start working. You'll notice all the angles that I'm working on these claws are the same, regardless of the tool. So I'm just following that shape, that process. Look at that. You see the beautiful mirror finish starting to come up. I'm going to make sure I get that look on all 4 claws, on both sides of each claw, and of course on the top. Now this is really important. We do it under the microscope because I've got so much more control than when we go to our polishing wheel. When we go to our polishing wheel, it's really big and it moves a lot quicker than what this hand one does. So you don't have as much control, and you also can't get into these nice little gaps here that we are at the moment. So we just adjust the tools for the intended outcome. We will give it just a once over the tops of these claws on the big wheel, but we know that we've prepared our claws at the bench, we've polished them at the bench, all of that kind of stuff beforehand, so we're not going to have to do too much work on them when we get downstairs to our big polishing wheel. Alrighty, just like that, guys. We're right at the end. I'm just going to give it one last final polish with our fluffy mop, but we are right at the end of our setting journey today. As always, guys, thank you very, very much for joining in. I've saved something super special for you guys on a Friday afternoon. This beautiful big 8-carat oval. And there it is. Have a look at that. We will get some more videos of this out maybe today or probably next week as well. Once we can post it, we've had the final polish, all of that kind of stuff. So just keep an eye out for that. It'll be really good to get the final result. But as always, guys, thank you so much for joining in. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys here and to have another setting with Christian on a Friday. I'll catch you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.